So you're thinking about moving to Lakeview. It's one of Chicago's most popular neighborhoods on the north side, and for good reason too. Between Wrigley Field, the lakefront, and endless restaurants, it's got something for everyone. But it's not all rainbows and baseball games. It has some downsides too. So we're gonna go over the pros and cons of living in Lakeview in this video so you can decide if it's the right fit for you. I'm Kim Griffiths, your Chicago realtor. I'm a mom of 3, a Bravo aficionado, and a lover of all things Chicago real estate. I currently live in West Lakeview and I love sharing neighborhood gems all around the city. Let's start with pro number 1, walkability. You don't really need a car here. Lakeview is one of the most walkable neighborhoods, from gyms, bars, restaurants, grocery stores, doctors, you name it, you've got it. And you don't need a car to get to those things. I average like 15,000 steps a day between school drop-offs and walking the dog and just everyday life. So it's amazing. Who needs a gym when you're walking 15,000 steps a day? Another thing that's amazing about the walkability and the ease to access things here in Lakeview is our access to the public transportation, the CTA. So in Lakeview, you have the red line, the brown line, and the purple line, and you also have tons of the lakeshore buses going up and down the lake. So commuting is a breeze wherever you're going. And next up, we're gonna talk about pro number 2, which is entertainment in Wrigley Field. So if you're a Cubs fan, living in Lakeview can feel like a little slice of heaven. You're literally living in the shadow of one of the most beautiful, iconic baseball stadiums in the country. But that can have downsides too, so we'll talk about that a little bit later. When you're walking around near Wrigley Field, it's just the energy is electric, even if you're not a Cubs fan. There's always something going on around Addison and Clark, and hanging out at Gallagher Way is so fun with kids, families, dogs, whatever. They have contests, they've got concerts, there's a lot going on. If brunch and shopping's more your vibe, you'll love the Southport Corridor. There's so many new shops and restaurants that have come in the last few years, and it's always a good time. Another thing that Lakeview is known for that I think is a huge pro is our block parties. From basically June to September, you'll see different blocks hosting their block parties. So there'll be no parking signs and all the neighbors come out, and each block kind of has its own vibe. And it's a good way to get to know your neighbors and just have good fun in our few warm months of the year. So from cocktail contests to fire trucks to bounce houses, each block does their own thing. There's even some in our neighborhood who has a mechanical bull. Some of them hire bartenders. It's just such a fun way to know your neighbors and have fun in these summer months in Chicago. Pro number 3 is definitely the lakefront trail. I mean, when you're talking about Chicago and Lakeview, you can't leave the trail out. It's amazing for biking and walking, access to the beaches, access to tennis courts. It's always so beautiful. It can get kind of congested, but it's just a great way to see the city and just be a part of nature when you have the city as your backdrop. Our next pro is the variety of housing Lakeview has to offer. Chicago's an old city and Lakeview's an old neighborhood, and that means we have everything from vintage walk-ups to luxury high-rise condos to multi-million-dollar single-family homes. So whether you're a buyer or renter or just looking for that high-end luxury feel, Lakeview has something for everybody, and that variety gives Lakeview such an eclectic vibe, and it's not cookie cutter, and it's beautiful to walk around and look at the gardens and just stroll along the streets. Okay, so we've talked about some of those amazing pros of living in Lakeview, but now we have to talk about the cons. For me, one of the biggest cons of living in Lakeview is the parking. It's rather congested over here, especially closer to East Lakeview, and street parking can be challenging to find and expensive when you're doing the meters. Monthly parking passes are also very expensive around here. So if you rely on a car, that's something to factor in to your expenses. Another thing is on game days, traffic is a nightmare, and that's just, it is what it is. You plan your days and parking and driving all around the game day schedule. My son used to go to daycare on the other side of Wrigley Field from where we live, and on game days, it would take us over 30 minutes to drive, which should be normally a 5 to 8 minute drive. So those days, if I remembered to check the schedule, I would walk because it was faster. So something to consider when you're moving to the neighborhood is if parking's gonna be a deal breaker, you just have to factor it into that decision. Our next con is the cost of living. It's a beautiful area to live in, with between the access to public transportation, the access to the lakefront, being around Wrigley Field and all these shops and restaurants, the walkability, the cost of living can be a little bit pricier. So if price and budget is impacting you, you can also focus on neighborhoods a little bit further west or a little bit further north to give a little more bang for your buck. One of the other cons of living in Lakeview is the noise and the crowds between the areas around Wrigley Field on game days and Boys Town for parades, etc. it can get really crowded and noisy. So if you prefer a little bit more peace and quiet, I don't know if that Lakeview is always the neighborhood for you. It does have its days and its times where it is peaceful, but it's just something to factor in. So is living in Lakeview worth it? I think so, as a West Lakeview resident, obviously. But if city living, nightlife, access to the lake in your backyard are things you love, it could be the perfect place for you. But if high prices, congestion, parking are deal breakers, it might not be the best fit. So if you think Lakeview might be the best fit for you, or you want to check out other neighborhoods, please reach out and let's get chatting.